Attack on Titan is not over yet. There is long-lasting evidence that Attack on Titan will have an alternative ending. Theories that speculate on Attack on Titan having an alternative ending are known as alternative original ending theories, or AOE theories for short. This video will be covering the most popular AOE theory, ANR, short for Akatsuki no Requiem. ANR is an official music video from Attack on Titan, which is why it holds the most probability of occurring in comparison to other theories. The A&R music video and its lyrics, along with the lyrics of the other songs featured in Attack on Titan, are the core basis of AoE. However, several other things such as manga panels, an OVA, and Isayama's inspirations also play a role in this A&R interpretation. This video will not only attempt to explain A&R, it will also explain 80% of all current supplemental information, such as deep diving into lyrics, theories, themes, third wall breaking, and much more. This video should serve as a recent and comprehensive ultimate guide for both someone completely new to AoE and someone already well versed in AoE. With no further delay, let's start discussing A&R. I highly recommend watching the A&R music video linked in the description before continuing further. The A&R music video features two main characters, a bird and a feather ball. For now, we will ignore the feather ball and focus on the bird. The bird is widely believed to be Eren due to the fact that he is pulling a crimson bow in the music video. The song Gurren no Yumiya, dating back to the start of the anime, directly translates to crimson bow and arrow. The music video for the song features a man holding a bow. What seals the deal, however, is that in the last Titan opening, we can see Eren shooting that same bow. Back to A&R. The music video depicts Eren doing the rumbling. But instead of being stopped and killed, he completes the rumbling and lives to an old age. The featherball is believed to be Kid Eren, receiving A&R as a memory from his future self. This version of Kid Eren will play a role in AoE, though how is yet to be revealed. The remaining mysteries in the music video are the grave Eren frequently visits and the broken Ouroboros on Eren's hat. To explain this, we must first delve into how time works in Attack on Titan. Think of time in Attack on Titan as a tree, specifically timelines, which are simply chronological arrangements of events. The main timeline is the trunk of the tree. Other existing timelines are the branches of the tree. Eren, through the use of the Founding Titan, is creating the separate timelines, the branches of the tree. Now, why and how is he doing so? Let's first answer the how. The Founding Titan possesses the power to manipulate the anatomy of the bodies of Eldians and their memories, as well as control animals which have ingested the blood of an Eldian, which will be explained in a subsequent theory. Through utilizing these powers, Eren is able to create alterations to the main timeline, the trunk of the tree, by making small changes. To explain these small changes, we will now look to the OVA named Lost Girls. Lost Girls focuses on Mikasa, which is important to keep in mind. The first usage of Eren's powers can be seen when Eren and Mikasa are walking in the forest. They run into a pack of wolves who recently ingested Eldian blood, satisfying a condition to use the Founding Titan's power. Through controlling the wolves, Eren directs them to leave, saving him and Mikasa. The second usage of Eren's powers comes in manipulating his father's memory to forget his hat. This satisfies a condition of using the Founder's power to alter memories. Mikasa then returns the hat to Grisha's house where Eren lives, satisfying Mikasa's wish to see Eren again. The third usage of Eren's powers come in manipulating the anatomy of Mikasa's mother. Mikasa wishes to see Eren again after he is badly injured in a fight, and through the Founding Titan's power, Eren causes a birth complication to Mikasa's mother that forces Mikasa's family to move closer to Eren's family. Notice how all three of the Founding Titan's abilities came into play. The common link is Mikasa's wish to see Eren again. You may be wondering, why would Eren be so worked up over satisfying Mikasa's wish? I will now answer the why of Eren creating alternate timelines. It begins with Ymir Fritz. Ymir is said to have made a deal with the devil to gain the power of the Titans. We are shown in the story, however, that she fell into the hollow of the tree that housed the source of all living matter, Hallucigenia. Hallucigenia attached itself to Ymir, which then granted Ymir the power of the Titans. Ymir later became a slave to King Fritz, even considering the fact that she had the powers of a god. Why would she do this? What if I told you Hallucigenia was the force driving this slave-like behavior? A theory proposed by a Reddit user named Violated Dog, crazy name, I know, states that all Hallucigenia inheritors, or Founding Titan inheritors, exhibit slave-like tendencies. Remember the story of Ymir and the deal with the devil? The visual scene in the Season 2 ending /ED brings back the devil and the angel, except this time, the devil is the one offering an apple to the angel. What's important is the slave ball directly under the devil, and the scarf directly under the angel. The theory explains that the apple is an offering of slavery to a host. Think of Hallucigenia as a reverse parasite. Instead of feeding on its host, it serves the host. Hallucigenia attached itself to Ymir, becoming a slave to its host. The devil in the Ymir legend is King Fritz, and the apple, the offering of slavery to a host, was Ymir's blood to King Fritz, creating a bloodline of Titan inheritors. The devil in the Season 2 ending visual is Eren, and the angel is Mikasa. The offering of slavery is a scarf, which Eren wrapped around Mikasa in Season 1. Ymir serves King Fritz in paths by following his will to unleash the terror of the Titans. Eren follows the will of Mikasa in paths, which is to see Eren again. This is why Eren is creating alternate timelines. Eren is bound by Hallucigenia to satisfy Mikasa's desire to see him again. Let's get back to the grave and the Ouroboros on Eren's hat. An Ouroboros signifies a cycle. A broken Ouroboros signifies the breaking of a cycle. What exactly is the cycle? The cycle is Eren being forced to fulfill Mikasa's wish to see him over and over again, creating separate timelines which prevent the progression of the main timeline, the trunk of the tree. We are shown in chapter 138, which will be covered in detail later, that Eren tells Mikasa to forget about him and throw away her scarf. Mikasa denies Eren's wish, wrapping the scarf tightly around her neck. We are shown that Mikasa will never forget about Eren, and will always wish to see him again. Therefore, the only logical way to end her desire to see Eren again is for Mikasa to die. To summarize, ANR is an AoE theory based on the Akatsuki no Requiem music video. The bird in the video is Eren, who completes the rumbling, which leads to a thriving paradise, and Eren living to old age. The featherball is Kid Eren, who at first goes against the rumbling, but then later accepts it after seeing a thriving paradise. The person in the grave is Mikasa, who is causing Eren to be in a cycle, and Ouroboros, through her desire to see him again. Eren breaks the cycle through her death by killing her directly, which will also be touched on later. This is the core foundation of the ANR theory, and what I hope is the main takeaway you get from this video. There is still much to discuss, which further backs the possibility of an AoE, so keep watching. The lyrics of the songs from Attack on Titan heavily support the existence of an AoE. Like I said, the songs are a core part of AoE. Let's take a look at the lyrics from ANR. I wonder why the earth and the sky parted. There is a fence that cannot be easily crossed between those who throw stones and those who are thrown at. When positions change, justice bares its fangs. In regards to the outside world, here are relevant lyrics from the song To You in 20,000 Years. Unable to discard the stone meant to be thrown back, we cowardly humans gazed up at the sky. The stones being thrown is a recurring motif in these songs. Now, let's continue with the lyrics. The world that broke the boy's sword will reach the top of the skyscraper and look down, laughing at the Tower of Babel. In the ending we got, the outside world, having repopulated and grown their military, reached the top of the skyscraper, the tall buildings of paradise that they destroyed, through their bombing, looking down at the buildings, the Tower of Babel, laughing. Let's go back to the ANR lyrics. There is a fence that cannot be easily crossed between those who throw stones and those who are thrown at. When positions change, justice bares its fangs. In the manga ending, the outside world threw the stones at paradise, effectively wiping them out. However, when positions change, justice bares its fangs. In the song Longing in the Road of Corpses, this is mentioned. Sometimes justice, borrowing the form of a god, bears its fangs. Justice and the bears its fangs refers to Eren, strengthened by the song Gurren no Yumiya. Soon, one day, he will bear his fangs at fate. And the fact that the Rumbling Titan can be seen as a metaphorical god, Yelena strengthens this further by referring to Eren as a god.
The Jaeger brothers will be spoken of as legendary symbols for thousands of years to come. Just as we speak today of ancient gods.
Eren will switch the positions and now throw the stones back at the outside world, wiping it out, like the outside world did to Paradis. Now, I'd like to draw your attention to this visual. In addition, there are these visuals. We'll get into what Eren sacrificed in a bit, but let's look at Armin and Mikasa's visuals. Mikasa showed a smile in the ending we got. Armin chose friends in the ending we got. In the A&R ending, Mikasa will show tears, and Armin will believe in the truth. The justice that is referred to in Eren's visual actually has many meanings. In the song The Last Titan, when referring to the Alliance, the lyrics say, "Show me your justice," meaning the Alliance brings justice to Eren for his killing of the outside world. But it doesn't stop there. The outside world, through the bombing of Paradis, brings justice as well, through the eradication of the devils that caused the extinction of 80% of humanity. The question, was it justice or liberty that he sacrificed, can be answered with, he sacrificed liberty in the failed timeline. He will sacrifice justice for his own sins in the A&R timeline, killing the Alliance and the outside world, which signified justice towards his sins. But the true genius part begins here. Not only does he sacrifice justice towards himself, but he also brings justice to the outside world for the annihilation of Paradis. Hatred and anger are a double-edged blade. Lyrics found in both Gurren no Yumiya and To You in 20,000 Years bring more context. The term double-edged blade implies the hurting of both sides, when the blade is used to inflict pain on the opposing side. One edge of the blade was Eren wiping out 80% of the world, inflicting pain, and their retaliation and destruction of Paradis signifies the infliction of pain back, responding to the rumbling, the stone that was thrown. In A&R, positions change, and in response to the destruction of Paradis in the failed timeline, the pain inflicted by the outside world, Eren brings justice to the outside world and throws the stone back, responding to their attack, inflicting pain back. The boy from back then will soon take up the black sword, lyrics found in Gurren no Yumiya. To bring back the point of Eren killing Mikasa, in the song Barricades, these lyrics are present. You know you had to kill her. We've got to learn to live free. We'll live in a life without barricades. It's a small bit, but we think it refers to Eren killing Mikasa. Now let's talk about the man himself, Isayama, the creator of Attack on Titan. Isayama was deeply inspired by the visual novel named Muv-Luv, specifically Muv-Luv Alternative. He even went as far to say that he directly copied Muv-Luv to create AOT. Muv-Luv even shares the same concept of a failed timeline and a successful timeline. In Muv-Luv Unlimited, the game prior to Muv-Luv Alternative, the Earth is eradicated by aliens known as the Beta, and a small portion of humanity evacuates by spaceship in hopes of repopulating on a different planet. Muv-Luv Alternative, however, ends with humanity having a much better fighting chance, and humanity remains on Earth. Muv-Luv Alternative contains many similarities to Attack on Titan. For one, the concept of Eren being looped into other timelines. Eren and Mikasa waking up from dreams, crying.
Why are you crying?
And the strongest evidence of all, the presence of a character named Sumika, who serves as the host, paralleling Mikasa. She wishes to see the main character, Takeru, again. Muv-Luv also presents many instances of willpower being the key to change, and in order to achieve change, one has to make sacrifices. I do not believe these similarities are a coincidence, and when Isayama says he copied Muv-Luv, we should take it literally. I want to cover recent findings as well, findings the community and I have made that uncovered the true motivations of the band that sings most of the Attack on Titan songs, Linked Horizon. I will now be covering a theory known as the arrow theory, authored by a friend of mine, Zucchini Timer. Take a look at these lyrics. The fired arrow that still escapes and flies away, leaving a crimson flame that circles through 13 winters. I will surely turn its entire trajectory, which burns out, into poetry, from the song To You in 2 months. The anime began in the year 2013. The crimson arrow leaves a crimson flame that circles through 13 winters. Implies this arrow will take 13 years to reach its target, which the target will be revealed later. Revo, the singer of Linked Horizon, through his songs, covers the multiple story beats from the anime. I will surely turn its entire trajectory, which burns out, into poetry. If you take a look at the translation of The Grave from the physical copy of Linked Horizon's last album, Memories of Shingeki, it reads, metaphorically, Revo shoots this arrow to Eren, this arrow of memories of the events of the story, strengthened by the presence of Revo at the founder tree. We initially thought that the Crimson Arrow arrived on April 30th, 2024. In Norse mythology, Odin, who has many ties to Eren, such as a missing eye and something we'll cover later, hung himself from a tree for 9 days. On April 30th, he released himself and gained great wisdom. It just so happens that Shingeki Fly, an art book from Isayama, released on April 30th, 2024, features a visual on the front cover of Eren looking up at the sky, likely at the Crimson Arrow, flying. It could and should be interpreted that Revo's message reached Eren on this date. However, we believe there was an oversight from Linked Horizon, and they released the album earlier than it should have been released. As for the contents of the arrow, it contains the story beats from the anime, the memories that Eren needs to complete the rumbling, his failure to achieve freedom in the past. Now I'll reveal the target of the arrow, which is Eren but also a specific place. The Crimson Coordinates song mentions aiming for the point where the beginning and the end intersect, in regards to the signal of the attack. The full line is, the signal of the attack will pierce the slanting sun's sky, aiming for the point where the beginning and the end intersect. This signal of the attack refers to the earlier lyrics, the fired arrow that still escapes and flies away, leaving a crimson flame that circles through 13 winters. I will surely turn its entire trajectory, which burns out, into poetry. To explain what the target is, I'll now cover a theory of mine which was initially termed borderline theory, but which I now think should be termed horizon theory, for reasons which you'll see soon. So, what is the point where the beginning and the end intersect? After a few failed attempts in trying to crack it, could be the middle of the story, middle of Eren's life, middle of Eren's Titan term, I remembered that the last numbered episode in the anime is episode 87, The Dawn of Humanity. I thought this could make sense for the end, as it is 80% of humanity's last moments. The beginning was still up in the air, as it could refer to any critical moment in the story, such as Eren waking up, inheriting his Titan, started the training, or started the Marley arc. This is when I began translating and digesting all the lyrics of the major Attack on Titan songs, from the openings and endings and the rest. One song in particular gave me a good hint. The Great Escape by Cinema Staff in Season 1, the second ED, has a visual on something that looks like a target, something to be aimed at. In this picture, you can see that there are two opposing sides fighting, which I assume to be Eldians and Marley. What separates Eldia and Marley is the sea, but specifically the wharf, a structure built along or at an angle from the shore of navigable waters, so that ships may lie alongside to receive and discharge cargo and passengers, that Eren Kruger and Grisha were at. It just so happens this event occurs in Chapter 87. I began to believe that perhaps Chapter 87 was at least entangled to what was referred to as the beginning. My belief was strengthened when the Great Escape song goes on to say, "Let's meet again in a place not found on any map." This line alone is ambiguous, but when paired with the target imagery and with this map from Season 1, it may indeed be referring to the wharf, which separates Eldia and Marley, in a place not found on any map, outside the walls. Taking a look at chapter 87, its title is Borderline. This strengthens that not only is the wharf a border, but that it is a line that can be thought of as an intersection where the beginning and end intersect. Now, I'll answer what exactly is the beginning and the end. I believe that this is to be understood in this manner. The beginning, which is multifaceted, I'll cover the first bit next, is the act of the attack titan, Eren Kruger, attacking Marley for the first time, breaking the Marleyan ships. This is the first offensive strike that the attack titan takes against the enemy, Marley, and later the outside world. That's the first facet, and the second is Grisha. Grisha is commonly referred to as starting the story, both in the chapter after chapter 87 and in chapter 121. In this manner, the beginning, the first attack against the outside world, and Grisha, and the end, the final episode of the anime, the end of 80% of humanity, are linked. The wharf, what separates Eldia from Marley, is what I believe to be the point where the beginning and the end intersect. That's not all. The full line, the signal of the attack, will pierce the slanting sun sky, aiming for the point where the beginning and end intersect, mentions a slanting sun. The weather in both chapter 89 and episode 87 are almost identical and are specifically highlighted. A zoom out to the horizon in chapter 89 and a zoom in to the horizon in episode 87. In the horizons, a slanting sun is featured, the sun at dawn, the dawn of humanity. In this way, not only are the beginning and the end linked together, but the horizons themselves are linked together. I believe this to be the true meaning of linked horizons. This has greater implications than I once thought. Linked horizon literally means two distant horizons in the sky being linked together. Akatsuki no Requiem is quite literally translated to English as Requiem of the Dawn. The band Linked Horizon, as you can see, very strongly points towards A&R happening. I will now discuss how I personally believe AoE will play out. This draws inspiration from everything I've talked about so far. Under normal circumstances, no two parallel worlds or timelines are actually connected. Eren has created a conduit between worlds, known as a causality conductor. The fact only Eren remembers a different past after the timeline resets means that he is the only one aware of the time loop, and he is the focal point in this unique phenomenon. All titans and subjects of Ymir are connected by something invisible, and what connects them are paths. Paths serve as channels for the transportation of several things, such as memories and wills from other subjects of Ymir. When paths cross, the point is known as the coordinate. The founding titan is the single coordinate where all titans and subjects of Ymir connect. Eren is responsible for the time loops, using the power of the founding titan. I believe that Eren purposefully wipes important memories from his memory, such as the result of the rumbling and his meeting with Ymir and paths. Memories that would explain why he's looping. However, here's where the interesting part comes in. Since paths serve as the channels of transportation for the wills of subjects of Ymir, I believe Eren's will lives on in paths after his death. Specifically, his will to fight for freedom. This will grows stronger each reset of the timeline. For example, in the first timeline we are shown, Eren runs away with Mikasa to live in a cabin. In the manga timeline, we are shown Eren enacting the rumbling with his eyes closed. In the anime, we are shown Eren enacting the rumbling, but with his eyes open. This growth in willpower leads to him wiping less and less memories each reset. I also believe that the Attack Titan specifically fights for freedom because of Eren. It inherits his will from paths. On the topic of memories, recall the theory I mentioned about the Scarf Enslaved Ball. The theory also claims that Eren uses birds as messengers, who document the events of the story. He is able to do this because the species of bird he uses, named the parasitic Jaeger, consumed the remains of Ymir Fritz, satisfying the condition of controlling animals who have consumed the blood of an Eldian. These memories are then accessed through paths and stored there for Eren to somehow retrieve them. I believe a certain catalyst must occur in a timeline where Eren reaches the dawn of humanity / rumbling that allows Eren to access those memories. In other words, the crimson arrow that trails across 13 winters, which documents the events of the story. It will arrive to Eren, in what form I don't know, and he will understand he has to finish the rumbling to achieve his true goals. I want to present you with a question. Why is it important for an AoE to happen? To answer this, I want to ask you another question. What is the main theme of Attack on Titan? Ever since the first season, since the very first episode, Eren and Paradisians were imposed on in some way, either through man-eating titans or through opposing forces. The whole story revolves around the struggle to achieve freedom for Eren and for Paradis. Therefore, I believe the main theme of Attack on Titan to be that we are all born free, and that freedom should not be imposed on by malevolent forces. The real enemy of Paradis is revealed to be Marley. Marley has bad blood with Paradis because of a war that happened many years before the events of the main story. The engraved racism and persecution of Eldians prohibits Eldians from being truly free. Another addition to the meaning of the broken Ouroboros in the A&R video is the breaking of the cycle of revenge born from hate. Through completing the rumbling, Eren achieves true freedom for Paradis, no titans and no persecution. In the ending we got, however, we are shown that from the moment Eren died, Paradis lived in fear of war from outside forces. After developing further, Paradis was later wiped off the map by the outside world. Additionally, the tree which houses hallucigenia re-emerged once again, implying that Titans were not fully eliminated. Eren did not break the cycle in the anime ending. Therefore, I do not believe the main theme of Attack on Titan was satisfied, and subsequently, I think the ending was bad. I want to clarify that I don't think the ending is bad because I wanted to see a massacre, nor because I wanted Eren to be quote-unquote edgy. I just want Attack on Titan to stay true to its message that has been implied throughout the whole story. This is why I believe an AoE happening is vital for Attack on Titan to truly be complete. I will now end the video with this. In my possession are 2 Attack on Titan music videos that have never been released to a video platform. They were taken from the virtual after party in celebration of the end of the anime, which I attended. I just wanted to let you know that I will be keeping those music videos from you, all for myself. I just want to launch my own attack against the fanbase, and this is my way of doing so. I'm also working on my own version of AoE in the form of a visual novel, which I may or may not finish and release. If I were to release it, it would be an attack on Isayama, a taunt to finish his true ending. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, remain hopeful.